Hello everybody, welcome to Savaging Studios. I'm your host Ink, and today we have something totally different than what we normally do here, and I'm just gonna vent a little bit about some craziness going on in my life. So, little bit of backstory leading up to what's going on in my life right now. By the way, enjoy this totally unrelated, peaceful picture of what I wish my life felt like right now while we talk about what a mess things have turned into. So, my sister Ivy, you might have seen the video where she came on and talked about wedding, her wedding to someone. Recently, within the last few months, her living situation got a little uncomfortable and she reconnected with a friend from high school. Since that point in time, she was home less and less and less and less and just smoking a lot of leafy greens, and it's gotten to the point where like everyone was like genuinely concerned about her, and her mental well-being, because previous to her marriage to this guy, she was in a really badly abusive relationship. And aside, of course, from the fact that she was being physically abused, this affected more than just that part of her life. When she was with this guy, she cut off all the people in her life who loved her. I remember this guy, basically just talking crap about everyone in her family who cared about her and who wanted best for her. And the only person really that was even involved at all kind of just didn't want to be in the situation, because this friend of hers was sick of watching this guy beat the crap out of her, so she kind of just put her at arm's length and was like, sorry, I can't really even give a crap about you until you're in a better situation, so good luck. So when she started not coming home, not returning phone calls, we obviously started to get a little bit worried. She's got depression, and we know that when she kind of like stops communicating, generally we assume that this means that she's just, really depressed and needs help. So we've tried, setting up whatever to see her. I've asked her to go out for coffee or whatever, but recently it's become more obvious that she is not just depressed. She's just, as it turns out, in another abusive relationship with someone who is not her husband. And her husband's obviously, not entirely stupid and is kind of aware of what's going on and is just totally heartbroken. And because, she's the first person that he's ever been with, he's willing to just kind of sit and wait for her because he loves her and doesn't want to lose her, even though he definitely knows what's going on. And so this has been going on for a few weeks, and our concern has just gotten worse and worse and worse. She's gotten nasty and angry and just doesn't seem to care about anything other than this person who is essentially cutting her off from all the people who love her. And the only person that she's even really kept much in contact with was our mom, who babysits her kids. But for the most part, they just stay with her husband, who loves them very much, despite the fact that they are not his. So tonight, we had set it up that we were going to have an intervention. We were going to try and sit her down and tell her, look, you're supposed to get back on your medication after you stop breastfeeding. You really need to get back into therapy, get back on your meds. We're worried about you. And to top it all off, this kid that she's being so heavily manipulated by, she's staying in, this kid, hasn't had a job. Maybe he does now, but I know that for a while he hasn't had any kind of job. He's just been staying at home with his mom, letting his mom take care of him. So obviously someone with no job who does nothing but smoke pot, can't afford a place of their own. So she's been spending the night at this kid's mom's house. Now, this kid's mom got a hold of me and, told me that she's really uncomfortable with what's going on and that she's, not okay with it at all, and that we need to, like, do something. And that, I told her, I'm like, what? I mean, what are we gonna do, really? Because she's over 18. We can't do anything. We can't force her to go to the hospital. We can't ground her and tell her that she has to stay home. Like, this is your house, and if you don't want her there, like, I know that it's super shitty, but, like, you're kind of the only person who has the authority to say that she can't be there. And she's like, yeah, I've sat her down and I've talked to her and I told her that I didn't want her spending nights here and that I didn't approve of what was going on. And I don't think that my son's good for her, and I don't think that she's good for my son. And whatever. And I'm like, well, look, you gotta talk to them, because you're the only person in this whole situation who has any kind of authority. Like, we can't do anything, but it is your home and you can do something. And we all have an issue with what's going on, so I totally support that. And she had said, if we break it to them, because she basically said that she was scared of her kid, that she was afraid that breaking it to her son that my sister wouldn't be able to stay there anymore was going to cause World War III in her home. Those were her words. She, on multiple occasions, said, this is going to cause World War III with my son. And I would like to point out to you guys, I think I mentioned this in my entitled children's video, there's an old Italian saying, they cry now or you cry later. And I've made a statement that if a toddler kicks and screams and throws things and throws a temper tantrum and gets what they want, you're going to end up with a teenager who thinks that they can kick and scream and throw themselves on the floor and get whatever they want. This is an exact situation of that. Like, this mom is afraid to tell her adult son that a married woman with 2 children can't stay in their home because she's afraid of what this kid is going to do. Like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So for those of you who think that, oh, it's okay to spoil my toddler, and if my toddler wants something, I should just give it to them even if they're throwing a temper tantrum, remember this story the next time that your toddler is throwing a temper tantrum. If you give in to this kind of behavior, that toddler is going to grow up, and you're going to end up in a situation where your adult child still lives with you because you're still taking care of them, because you're spoiling them still, and they're going to bring someone completely inappropriate into your home. And when you tell them that you don't want them there because they're causing stress in your personal life, your kid's basically going to be like, fuck you, you can't tell me what to do. So keep that in mind for all of you parents out there who want to spoil your kids. This is the outcome. This is what happens. And honestly, I have to say, I'm just really sad and disappointed that my sister, as a person who used to be so respectful and so sweet and used to put everyone else first, I'm kind of just really heartbroken that she just genuinely doesn't care that she's encroaching on someone else's home, and that she has no respect for the fact that they don't want her there, on top of just the fact that, like, this is a terrible thing to do to your children. I was visiting with her 4-year-old the other day, and he's talking and he's talking and he's talking, and he stops and he goes, hey, how come mommy doesn't live with us anymore? And I'm just like, nope, 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 you've got to be kidding me. Like, this is ridiculous. This has got to stop. So we tried doing this intervention. She walks in. She won't take her coat off. She's got her hand on the doorknob. She's staring at her phone, texting. And we're trying to talk to her. Like, we are worried about you. We love you. We just want you to get help. And then as soon as we brought this kid up, we're like, dude, you're staying at this kid's house. His mom's texted me 5 times just today to tell me that she tried telling you that you weren't allowed to be there, and that you basically just ignored her and walked up into her house. Like, that's so inappropriate. Like, don't you realize that what you're doing isn't right? And that every person who loves you is sitting here and trying to tell you that you need help. Like, we're concerned. You are acting the exact same way that you were when you were in this abusive relationship, and we're all worried. The only person, aside from the abusive kid, obviously, who isn't worried is, oh, wait, that friend who bailed on her when she needed her. And this wasn't the only time that this person's been, like, a super shitty friend either. Like, this person was doing drugs in the home with her children, and when my sister told her that she wasn't comfortable with her doing drugs in the home with the children, if that she wasn't willing to stop, that she was going to have to leave, and this friend tried to like flip it on me somehow and basically like wouldn't talk to her and made huge drama between my sister and all of her friends. Like, this is just, I've said for a really long time that this person is probably one of my sister's most toxic friends, but because my sister is generally such a good-hearted person, she normally, her response when I'm just like, why are you hanging out with this chick again after she screwed you over and stabbed you in the back again for like the 50th time? Why? And her response is always, oh, people change. She's better now. And I mean, obviously, that's not the case. It's just, this person likes to do drugs and this abusive person likes to do drugs, and there you go. That's probably the only reason that there's any kind of approval at all. But this whole thing just like blew the fuck up. We're trying to get Ivy to stay, and she literally just stormed out and like ran out the door, and we just didn't even know what else to do. We're just like, what do you do when someone that you love with all of your heart isn't that person anymore? Like, we were at a loss when she was in a relationship with her abusive baby's father also, during this time. I mean, there would be months where we just didn't see her, and she wouldn't talk to us, and she just doesn't care about anyone but her family and her abuser when she's in these situations. And I don't even ultimately remember. I mean, I know that Ivy had told me at one point that I was a big part of the reason why she left her abusive boyfriend, but that there were other aspects of it too. And all I know is that it was years of hell when she was with this guy, and that there wasn't really anything that we could do or say that was going to end it before she decided it was over. So being in this position where you're just totally helpless, hopeless, don't know what to do because this person that you love is not only flushing their lives down the toilet, but they're breaking the hearts of every single person who actually loves them. So after she left, obviously the first thing that she does, what's the first thing that an abused person does when people try to intervene and they get away from the situation? Well, the very first thing an abused person does is they go to their abuser and tell them exactly what happened, because they feel that they'll be in trouble if they don't tell them everything that happened. So of course, that's the first thing that Ivy did, is she left and she texted this abusive friend of hers, friend in quotes, because let's be honest, none of us are stupid here. And so this kid starts blowing up my phone, and this kid's mom is blowing up my phone about how, she should have, that we need to call the police and make sure that if my sister shows up, we need to call the police and make sure that they take her out of here because she doesn't want anything to do with her anymore. And I'm just like, lady, that if we call the police and say we need to have this adult person removed from a home that isn't ours, they're not going to do anything, for one, because it's not our house. We don't have the authority to tell someone to leave. Like, I understand that you're scared of your kid, but that's like a life issue that you gotta deal with there. That doesn't mean that the law is gonna change and that we can call to have someone else removed from your home because you're scared to call the police. It does not work that way. So she literally sent me like 10 text messages and a whole bunch of messages on Facebook, and I'm about how my sister's blowing up her life, and this isn't her son, this is my sister, and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, well, first off, your son pursued her for years. So to say that my sister dragged him out of his life and pursued him is not the case. He's been after her since high school. And when she finally decided to give him a shot before she got with her now husband, he shot her down because she had kids, and like really really hurt her feelings, and they didn't even talk for a really long time after that. So, lady, don't give me this crap about how this is all my sister's fault, because this is not all my sister's fault. Like, I understand that she's an adult and that she has a role to play in this, but this is not all my sister's fault, and she did not come after your kid. Your kid has been pursuing her since high school. So that's the first thing, and second of all, like, you can't, I mean, she made a big point to, like, try to really throw it in my face that her kid's not at all involved in this situation. And I'm just like, dude, if your kid wasn't involved in this situation, we wouldn't have a problem here. Your kid's very obviously involved in this situation. So, give me a break, lady. Like, this is between Ivy and this kid. This is the entire situation. So don't try and, like, exclude your kid from what's going on, because it takes two for this particular issue. And I mean, I've stated too before that I don't even like Ivy's husband, and I kind of really feel for him right now, because this is, in his position, I would have left her already, because what she's doing is completely inappropriate and just wrong on so many levels. It's wrong to her husband, it's wrong to her children, it's wrong to her. Like, she's been in an abusive relationship before. You'd think that she would know better. I know that that's not how that works. You know, our mom left the guy that was abusing her for 17 years and immediately got into a relationship with another guy who broke her nose. So I understand that there's like a psychosis behind this, but she was in a decent marriage where, you know, they had issues, but she was just as much a part of the issues as he was, and it was not bad. You know, like, and if it was, I'd be the first person to say it, because like I said, I don't particularly like her husband as a person, because we've had our own personal beefs, but this was not just on him. And at this point, it's just her being like really selfish and just throwing away her entire life for this punk pothead who is gonna drag her down. And it's just really heartbreaking. And honestly, like, we know that she's been smoking a lot, and I mean, I guess part of us hoped that it was just her being under the constant influence of, you know, substances that was making her act this way, because then at least if we could get her off those substances, she might wake up and, like, decide to be an adult and a parent again, and, like, be a part of the lives of the people who love her, instead of hiding away with this horrible human being. But, you know, from what I've heard from a lot of different sources, I guess, who've been around her more, it's not even that, which in a way is even scarier, because if it's not drugs making her act like this, she genuinely just has become this awful, manipulated human being that isn't who she is. I mean, if I could show you guys what she was like when she was little, she had such a big heart. She loved everyone so much. She was so giving and so sweet. And really, it was her first abusive relationship, the first time that we ever saw another side of her, where she was just this awful, horrible, selfish person who didn't care about anyone but herself. And we're seeing that again now, only it's scarier this time, because she's got two kids who love her and miss her and want her to come home. And I mean, her husband, regardless of how I feel about him, is literally doing everything that he can to try and make their home a place that she will want to come back to, and she just doesn't care anymore. So if any of you guys have any personal experience with a situation like this, or know someone who was in a really bad abusive relationship, and, you know, have any ideas on how we could, you know, bring her back and just try and make her herself again, you know. And apparently she had gone to my mom's house just yesterday and talked about wanting to kill herself. So being with this guy is not making her feel better. That was the excuse in the beginning, was just that being around him made her feel better because he was nice to her. And at this point, not only is she cutting off every single person in her life who actually loves her for someone who just wants to manipulate and hurt her and have control over her, she's not feeling better. This guy is not making her feel better. This guy is, she just said that she wants to kill herself. I mean, that's what this guy is doing to her. So if any of y'all have any advice, I would love to hear it, because I'm fresh out of ideas. Thank you for listening to me rant about my life. I hope you guys enjoyed the painting. Please, if you have any suggestions, feel free to drop them in the comments box below, and I will see you guys in the next one.